Hey guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera. For this week's episode, we are going to be busting out some more flags.
It's time to talk about our favorite things ever, which to Ciera and I, it's oftentimes talking about relationships, analyzing people's relationships, figuring out what about this person is possibly a problem or maybe it's a good thing. So, being that beige flags are trending on TikTok recently, we thought it'd be fun to revisit what that trend has been like, kind of some different ones we've seen. I don't think a lot of people are even using the trend correctly, so we're going to talk about like what it is to us, like what is a true beige flag. And then, of course, we need to talk about green flags and red flags again.
Now we have a full stoplight. Yeah. Our reds, our greens. For some reason, they're beige and not yellow.
Well, yellow flags are kind of like, I feel like,
pause.
Not quite a red flag, but it's something to be wary of. And a beige flag is like almost like neutral.
Like it's just a weird, what we decided when we were coming up with this whole episode is that beige flags are really just like quirks.
And we just came up with a different name for it, for like people in relationships.
Like they're generally neither positive nor negative.
And I feel like a
just
good
weird
beige flag is usually like pretty specific to like that person. So for us, and we might share like a couple we saw on TikTok and, you know, say whether or not we disagree or agree with them. But we wanted to kind of apply it to our life because, again, beige flags
like you can't just make up a beige flag.
Specific and like a quirk about that person. So we try to come up with a few for people in our life.
And for each other.
And for each other.
And then we had you guys submit some of your own either personal beige flags or beige flags of people that you know.
So see if we can come to an agreement on what is and is not a beige flag.
And then maybe with the ones that you guys submitted, we'll also say like if we think it's a true beige flag or we think like maybe it's a green flag, maybe it's a red flag.
Yeah. And then for the red flags and green flags, I know we've, you know, had segments and episodes here and there we've talked about this stuff, you know, but it's been a while and we'd like to bring it back around. So for that portion, Ciera and I decided to come up with stuff separately to then, you know, have some communication and discussion regarding some of those.
And that reminds me of a TikTok that I saw that you and I both related to, where it's like, I love being a woman because I love talking about the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And so
if there's one thing I will be doing, it is revisiting the same exact topic,
hopefully from a new
probably
angle,
5 times, and then just continue to like reinsert my point of view and why I think the way I do and why I'm right and all that.
Okay. Without further ado, we are going to start with our weekly spotlights. That's a segment that we do every week where we just talk about something great and exciting or fun or interesting that happened to us within the past week. So, for me, it is going to Clear Lake for the first time this year.
My spotlight or highlight was also unsurprisingly going to be going to the lake for the first time. So, I guess we can chat a little bit about our weekend.
I mean, first, I have to shout out myself for I worked my PRN shift on Saturday this weekend, and so I'm just like, I just proud of myself every time that I like do an extra shift because, you know, I worked 6 days straight and then got 1 day off. Now I'm working this week again, and I just have to hype myself up every time I do it.
And it was a holiday week too. Other people were only working 4 days, most of them, and you did 6.
Yeah.
I went up on Friday night after work because I was like, sorry, Ciera, I'm not waiting for you. And so I drove up with my mom and grandma. And here's the thing. I have a theory. If you follow along with our vlogs at all and you saw me posting about our hard drive had an issue over the weekend, so it kind of delayed one of our videos getting up. I think, based on stuff I was looking up, it's like if you were to like drop the hard drive, then it could be an issue. And when I was editing in the car, it like slid down between where it was in my lap to like...
You didn't tell me this.
Well, I thought it worked a little bit after that. But that was the only thing and again, like it was only so far. It was from the seat to like the door / the floor. But that might be enough to throw it out of whack because the hard drive did not work when I went to finish the video later that night. And we took it to Best Buy, and they also could not get it to work. And so I thought I honestly was going to be able to like recover the stuff And I maybe would have been, but like the Best Buy guy was talking 4 to 6 weeks, and I was like, I don't have 4 to 6 weeks to wait around to post the Vegas vlog when I have all of the footage elsewhere to edit it. Because the issue was, like, for Final Cut Pro, you can save stuff onto your computer, but since we've had a hard drive, we've been saving the projects onto the hard drive usually, so that it doesn't like take up so much space on our computer. And I think that we maybe just, it had been making some noise before, which I heard also is not usually like the greatest, so we'll probably just like keep tabs on our new hard drive and try to make sure it's staying nice and calm and not getting angry and not drop it.
So some other stuff from this weekend. Megan did like a lot of cleaning and stuff with our family.
Yeah, so
in the shed up there.
Our grandpa still has, he had like a shed up there that was like separate from our lake house, with like a bunch of storage stuff in it. So like anything related to like old boats we had, or like there's some snowmobiles in there, a bunch of tools and stuff. Like it's a decent size shed. And since he was the only one that really knew like where stuff was at in there, my mom, myself, my grandma, my 2 uncles, and then my aunt, like we were all up there trying to like get things reorganized and like throw stuff out if like they didn't need to be in there anymore, just so everyone was like on the same page with like what's in there.
What is in here?
And that was 4 hours of my life that I honestly was not, I was anticipating to like be there for a few hours, but like 4 hours.
A few is 3, so 4 is only 1 more.
But it was just like, it's hard when I basically could only help when I like knew what I was to be doing, and like half the stuff in there I'm like, I don't know where this goes, I don't know what this is, I don't know if we're keeping it, so I don't know where it goes. And so it was a lot of like waiting around to be told like what my uncle thought we should do with it. And then sometimes like we'd be in a rhythm and a groove, and everyone would be like doing their thing, and we'd kind of have like a mess over here that I was like, okay, like we're gonna go over here next, and all of a sudden we're off in a different corner now, like making it an even bigger mess. But it got done. It was much more organized and improved, which was good when we left.
That did make me feel better about, knowing that I was working that day, but I knew you were like at least doing that for some of the morning.
It was hot.
So I was like,
and I was wearing Birks, which like when Birks get sweaty,
they're so hard to walk in.
It was just like I was getting uncomfortable, and I was like, this was not a good shoe choice. Like I don't even want to be like walking around in these shoes. So that was even worse. But
it was beautiful weather though.
Yeah, it was.
It was good. Hot. Got to lay out and like actually sun ourselves and read a good little bit. I got a good chunk of my book read this weekend, which needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And you're almost done with your book.
I am. Hopefully finishing today or tomorrow, depending on how much reading I can get done.
For all of our book lovers listening, we have a new book video coming to the YouTube channel very soon. Probably this weekend, I think, by the time you guys are listening to this. So get excited.
And we went and, we're sporting our new sweatshirts that we got from the Mercantile. We usually get like a new thing every year just because.
Which like mine, I think is so cute. It's like completely new. I haven't seen anything
really
like that
it. It looks very vintagey, and I've come to the realization that as much as I love the idea of colors for like clothing, sweatshirts, whatever, I inevitably always gravitate towards my neutrals, and so I've been keeping that in mind a little bit more with like, I know it's like quote unquote boring, but like that's what you're always wearing, so I got a gray sweatshirt.
Which is what you're wearing.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that we want to talk about before we dive into the meat and potatoes of the episode?
The G7X is still we're bringing it around. So if you see more of that on our Instagrams, don't be surprised.
Then you know what's going on.
Otherwise, I don't know.
Okay.
Not too much else.
One thing that Megan wanted to touch on at the start of this episode, because we were going to talk about it in our Vegas recap, and then it totally slipped our mind.
So this is like a completely like one-off thing. But I need to ask you guys.
Go for it.
When we were at the pool at the hotel in Vegas, basically let me know if you think this was weird or not, or if you thought this was totally acceptable of this stranger to ask. So Ciera's in the pool, kind of like hanging out. I walk over to like chat with her, dip my legs in the pool, and there is a woman somewhat nearby, also in the pool, close-ish to Ciera. And then there's another woman who's on the cement behind me, kind of like going to her like pool chair towels and stuff. And all of a sudden the woman in the pool starts like talking to me saying, hey, can you tell her to like put her tag in her bottom or like fix her tag? And I was kind of like, if this person knew that person, I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense, because then you're saying it's your friend and you're trying to let her know. But I was also like, you're like a foot away from her compared to where I'm at. Can't you just like yell at her? But she wanted me to like get her attention and like tell her. But I was just like, I don't feel like I should be the one telling her that her tag is sticking out when this is such a common thing, like, that it's just not always that happens. Like, if you're at the pool, guess what? Sometimes your tag is sticking out. You reach back, you check it out, you adjust it. Like, I'm not saying everyone loves when their tag is sticking out, but I'm just saying, like, inevitably it's just something you deal with when you're at the pool. And, like, I've never once had someone...
Not embarrassing.
Except for maybe, like, a sister or, like, cousin who knows me say, like, oh, like, your tag is sticking out. Like,
and, like, the only reason you say that, like, it's not embarrassing, but you're like, oh, like, you can fix it if you want to, because I see it sticking out. But, like, I would never look at someone
like, caught
with their tag sticking
and,
out.
Like, at this point, the girl was kind of, like, already, like, turning around as I'm trying to, like, assess the situation. And so then the girl in the pool, like, just tells her.
Oh, your tag is sticking out.
And granted, the girl was kind of like, oh, like, thank you. And I don't know.
And the girl in the pool, she was like, well, I would want someone to tell me if my tag was sticking out. And I was like, why does it matter that much?
So, I don't know. You guys tell us if you would have, like, would you on your own have, like, gone and told someone to, like, fix their tag? Is, like, what I want to know. Because in my mind...
Or, like, I think if someone were to come up to me, I would have been like, okay.
Like, I would have...
None of your concern.
I would have probably figured it out sooner or later.
Maybe
then I feel like it would have made me, like, self-conscious. I'd be like, I didn't know
it was a big deal.
Else, like, cared so much. Anyways, you let us know.
Okay. Let's get into some beige flags. So, obviously, the trend started on TikTok. I don't know if we like have specific ones that you saved on TikTok that you wanted to bring up, but Megan and I did plan beige flags for each other. I thought of one for myself, and then also we thought of some for like our family members.
I thought of 2 for you. One is probably more of a beige flag, but to be honest, it's also like it is my beige flag as well. So I wonder if it's the same one that you thought of for yourself or not.
I would be surprised.
Okay. I guess the only one I had written down that I saw on TikTok that I was kind of like, this is a true beige flag, is someone said that their boyfriend, instead of setting an alarm, he sets a timer on his phone for like when to wake up. And that's like, it's just something where it's like, I guess behavior. you could do that. No, it would work. It would get you.
I honestly envision him being like, doing it, being like, I want to wake up at like 6 a.m. So like that's 5 hours and 16 minutes and 30 seconds from now. And I'd be like, babe, just set an alarm for 6 a.m. if that's when you want to wake up. Or I'm like, is he someone who's just like, I want 8 hours of sleep no matter what. So I'm setting a timer for 8 hours. Like, that's it.
It almost like, it would make more sense if that was the case. But also like, I still set an alarm. Just do the math anyways. And I'd be like, if I want roughly like 7.5 hours of sleep.
So maybe you're doing it backwards.
Maybe
you should be like,
I do that on the weekends where I can actually like control a little bit more when I'm waking up, but I also like want to wake up at a decent time.
Weekdays you got a hard start.
You know, I gotta get up at this time, and that's kind of it. So
okay, I saw a beige flag where someone was saying like their boyfriend's night routine in the kitchen to like prepare his breakfast. So like to save him time in the morning, he would like put a full K-cup and the Keurig eggs and like a mug underneath, like, so he just has to slam it down in the morning. He has a plate with his fork and his knife already set up for him, and just like a sugar packet like on the counter, like ready for his coffee.
Everything ready to go.
And I thought that was funny, and also like a true beige flag because it's, you know, kind of quirky and weird, but neither positive nor negative. Mm-hmm. If it saves you time in the morning, why not?
Okay, let's talk about the beige flags that we thought of for each other. / the one you thought of for yourself.
Okay. I'll do the one that I thought of for you first.
Okay.
My beige flag for you was like having to make sure your inhaler is everywhere. Mostly because I would understand this truly if you like used your inhaler regularly, but you don't.
Here's the thing. This weekend, I used it more this weekend alone than I have in like the past like 3 months of my life, because the amount of dust that was in that shed was insane. And, like, I kid you not, like, I think I swallowed, like, a quarter pound of dust. I'm like, okay. None of it's actually, like, me being serious, but, like, we were trying to sweep the floor a little bit to, like, clean it up. So, like, the whole thing was filled with dust. I was coughing, I was sneezing, other people were sneezing, and it just got everywhere.
Like, I just want you, in full honesty, like, regular life, on a weekly basis, how often do you use your inhaler?
Like, before this weekend, it's been, like, 0.
Like,
but I get anxious every time I don't have it, because all it takes is one time for me not to have it,
like,
and I need it.
Like, we're getting ready to go somewhere, and she's like, wait, do I have my inhaler? And, like, it's always in your purse.
No, I took it out because I took it on the jet ski, because, again, I take it wherever I go.
Take it on the jet ski when you're going to be gone for, like, 15 minutes.
I probably don't have to, but I'm so used to doing that now that, yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, so that was my beige flag for you.
Okay. This isn't really a beige flag, I feel like, but this is the first one I thought of, so, like, give me some grace. Because I was like, gosh, I can't think of anything. We're so, like, not quirky, I feel like, that it was kind of hard. Because I feel like we're pretty normal. So my first one, which I wrote this down, and then you kind of proved my point, because you did have a little slip up when you were recording. She always trips on her words / can't speak, particularly when vlogging.
Yeah.
It's really, like, when vlogging, because, like, we have a whole podcast. You know, I talk to you all day, but it's like when you're vlogging is when
it's because I feel like I'm putting on a show and then I get nervous.
So that was one. We always kind of joke that, like, Ciera needs, like, a speech therapist, and it's just like, it's funny when I'm editing, like, close by or, like,
I know
near.
I know when I'm filming and I know Megan's editing this video. I'm like, there's another, trip up for you. Go ahead and laugh.
And so it's just funny when I happen to be editing around her and she's like, I'm having to, like, repeat the part a few times over so I get it cut, like, where it needs to be cut. And then I just, like, laugh to myself because it's an inside joke at this point.
Okay. Beige flag for myself is that I don't drive with cruise control.
Okay. Isn't
that, like, a true beige flag? I feel like that was pretty good.
Yeah. That's a good one. I used to, like, for the longest time, I used to not drive with cruise control. And then I've eventually made the switch so that usually I am. At least, like, if I'm going on, like, a long drive, I don't use it, like, if I'm going to work or, like, around the Des Moines Metro, I'm usually not using it. But, like, if I'm going to Iowa City or, like, Clear Lake, then
so, like, I just drove to Clear Lake, didn't use it. And I feel like, honestly, I've gotten into the habit of just not driving with it, that, like, there will be times where I mentally think about, should I turn it on? And I do, and my feet are just sitting on the floor, and I'm like, this feels weird. Like, my foot needs to be doing something. Or I just feel like I'm constantly, like, I want to pass someone, so I have to, like, speed up. Like, I just feel like it's not worth it at that point. And so
you could always, like, use the up and down things.
I just don't. Like, I just prefer to not drive with cruise control. We drove to Indianapolis. I don't think I used it then. So I think it's just something at this point in my life, I'm just not a cruise control person.
It applies to both of us, and it's so normal for both of us, but I feel like for someone else, they could be like, that's a quirky thing that you do. And it's that we watch and listen to everything in double speed, which I feel like is, like, when I'm, like, in a relationship with someone and they find that out about me, I feel like they're just going to be like, can you, like, hear what you're listening to?
Podcasts, YouTube videos, if it's not in double speed, I can't listen to it.
Like, even, it's so crazy once you get used to it because, like, I'm checking double speed being like, there's no way this isn't in double speed. And then, like, it is. Or we used to listen to lectures. Like, I would sometimes push a lecture to, like, ×3 speed. I mean, I'd be pushing it. I'd be like, we might be missing a few things here and there. But I needed to, like, get through the time. / like, I feel like this is kind of our generation in general, but, like, having as much content going at one time as possible also. Like, you're scrolling on your phone, there's something on the TV, you're watching a YouTube video.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you being entertained by?
But we both very much operate in that way.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people do that, where I've seen, like, memes where it's, like, big screen, medium screen, little screen entertainment. So, it's not just an us thing. But the double speed thing.
But it took me so long to think of that because, like, I did it too. And to me, it just, like, is normal.
Okay. I also had a couple of things written down for... I tried to come up with stuff for, like, a lot of my close family members, but I feel like my dad was, like, the easiest one to come up with beige flags for because I consider him kind of a quirky guy. So, the first one that I thought of was that he paints his deck every single year. And
for the purpose of
protecting it from the sun.
Yeah.
And so, first of all, I feel like most people tend to stain their deck or restain it. I don't even know if people do it every year, but he paints it.
We haven't done anything to our deck.
No, he hasn't.
So,
and his fence. He'll paint his fence too.
And I don't plan on it, at least not right now.
And we always would tell him, like, that's crazy, that's weird. And he's like, no, like, it's very common, everyone does it. And then I felt so validated when our uncle, his brother, came over and we were talking about stuff. And our dad mentioned he painted the deck. And our uncle was like, okay, like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then we were like, well, he does it every year.
Like, he did it last year, too.
And then our uncle was kind of like, every
like,
year? Really, Gary? That's, like, a lot. Every year?
Because it is. No, name one other person who's painting their deck every year. Like, it's just a yearly thing on their to-do list. Like, I've never heard of someone else being like, gotta paint my deck again this year to
And then when he just told us
ready.
a couple weeks ago, we were at his house using his hot tub. And he goes, I painted my furniture.
Like, the patio furniture.
Does it look good?
Like, painting is, like, fixes everything,
I guess. And so I was like, yeah, I guess, like, I wouldn't be able to tell. Which
like, in my mind, if you have, like, outdoor furniture, like, a little wear and tear to be expected.
Like, I'm not going to paint anything. My deck's not getting painted. My outdoor furniture's not getting painted. It's staying the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Anything else that you had that, like, for him specifically?
Not for Dad, unless you can think of one.
No.
So, this was one, since Megan and I don't have boyfriends, I thought of, like, one beige flag from, like, someone that I was talking to, and it was that he slept with, like, tape over his mouth. Like, I think it was...
How did that come up in conversation?
I don't even remember, if I'm being honest. But I think he slept with it. This is, like, an actual thing that people do. So it wasn't just a him thing, but it was something to do with, like, your breathing or something. Like, you tape long ways over your mouth. You don't, like, tape your mouth shut or anything. And it's supposed to help you breathe better or something. I don't know. When I was still talking to him, though, and, like, that got brought up, I made, like, a mental note of, like, this is something where if I stop seeing this guy, like, it's going to be, like, that's kind of weird.
So you could use it as, like, an egg to get over him.
Like, mentally, I was like, okay, jot that down.
I'm going to store that away for later in case I need it.
But, like, while I'm still seeing him, like, oh, just a quirk. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal. But, like, I made a mental note.
But noted. It was noted.
It was noted.
See, Ciera asked me this. She was like, oh, like, let's think of, like, people we've talked to or, like, whatever. And she was like, you know, you had a boyfriend for 2 months, like, 5 freaking years ago, however long it was. And I was just like, you know, that was so long ago.
She's like, I don't even remember him.
So I tried to think of stuff because I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Like, let me think on that. But it's just been too long that, like, nothing stuck out. So I'm sorry to report I didn't have anything.
Okay. For Mom, you had a beige flag for her.
Do you think this is a beige flag?
I don't know if I would consider it a beige flag, but you can say it anyways.
Because I'm like, is it a quirk? Not really. Basically, and Mom, if you're listening, it does entertain me, so it's not
Keep it coming.
You know, it's not all here nor there. But she's not always the best storyteller, because I feel like whenever she's talking to me, she's like, maybe we've talked about one thing 2 weeks ago, and
then she was like
briefly brought up
mid-story.
And she dives, like, head first into
middle of the story.
We're in the middle. I don't know who she's talking about. It's maybe a name that, like, here's the thing. I'm not good with names in general. If it's a person I've never met before and you've just talked about them, I guarantee I do not know their name or who you're talking about if you bring them up again. And so without any backstory or, like, build up to, like, hey, remember when we were talking about this situation? Well, here's an update. Like, she is head first in the situation, in the story, and I am just like, hold on. It's at this point.
You know what I feel like is happening a lot more recently?
We look at each other, because I know Ciera's lost too.
No, I feel like I'm going to expand on this. It's not even just with Mom. I feel like with our family in general.
Everyone is
we
like.
will be like with everyone. Lost. And everyone, like, except us, is headfirst into a conversation that they all know what's going on, and you and I are like, what are they talking about? When did this come up? Who are we talking about? Why do you guys have opinions on this thing? I don't even know what is going on. Like, I think it's happening a lot more. So. And then I'm like, are you guys having secret get-togethers without me?
Right?
Because that's what it feels like.
That's what it feels like. So, maybe that's the case.
Maybe.
Anyways, I still feel like if you're going to be a good storyteller, read the room, who all knows what, and then, like, with the lowest person on the totem pole, maybe it's me, you got to give some background.
Break it down for the moron.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I thought you were going to, like, jump into a song or something.
No.
Like, you had, like, a rhythm going.
You're like, okay, where's this going? I tried to come up with one for our sister Haley, but I think that we've hit a point in time where, since we haven't lived with her in a very long time, that I just don't know her beige flags these days. So, Haley, if you are listening and you have your own beige flag for yourself,
what quirks do you have?
Comment on our Instagram post for this episode.
Yeah. Do we want to jump into written responses from the audience?
I think so.
We're staying with beige flags.
I think so. Okay, we're getting into our listener responses for your guys' beige flags or people's beige flags they've noticed. If you guys want to participate in this kind of stuff in the future, all you have to do is follow our Instagram at according to, all spelled out, letters only, no numbers. So the first one someone said was they pick up on your slang / stuff you say and start to use it too. I think that's kind of cute.
Yeah,
like I like
maybe
it.
It's a green flag.
Like if I have this little thing that I say all the time, or if I like have these quotes and stuff that I use, and I notice
I feel like
someone
the
else
longer
say
you're
it,
with someone, the more you should morph into the same person.
then I'm like, oh,
yeah,
you just used something that I said.
Because I feel like it also like
it's endearing.
Yeah, and it just like means that they respond well to the unique way in which you communicate and like your little catchphrases that they want to like.
And they're actually listening to you.
Join up with you in that. Like I can give a little example between Maggie and Sam, because Maggie sent a photo of Sam who was reading a book, but it was a live photo. So Ciera, I don't know if you had audio on or if you just like saw his mouth moving.
I thought he was like saying something about the book, so I turned it on to see what he was saying. Okay. It was not related to the book.
And she could like make out that he was like saying "Hey Queen," and so Ciera asked like, "Was that what he was saying?" And she said that yeah, he's been saying that because she keeps being like "Per Queen, slay," whatever. Like Maggie's been saying that a lot more, and so he has also started to do that and return that favor, I guess. So
we like it. I don't consider
like
a beige flag. I think it's cute.
This person said opening a bag of chips upside down. Now, is that something you do on purpose, or is that something like, oh, on accident? I accidentally opened a bag of chips upside down.
I guess it truly doesn't matter. So, like, it is a beige flag.
Like, why would you do that?
But I'd be like, okay, stop doing that.
It would honestly, like, especially because if I'm going to grab something out of
the
cupboard and I'm making the assumption that, like, the right side is the right side up.
That's correct.
If I were to pull that out and it dumped all over the place, do you know how mad I would be?
Mm-hmm. I was thinking like a little personal bag. Like with that, do whatever you want. If it's a party size or family size chip bag that's
like it better have been an
stored,
accident.
You can't do that. Because we all operate on the assumption that you open the chip bag from the top.
We have rules.
And so if you're causing anarchy and chaos like that, it will not be tolerated.
Not in this household.
Okay. This person said, I'm never at 100% health. There's always a headache or stomach ache going on.
I saw a TikTok about that, actually. It was like someone saying that about their girlfriend. I feel for you, first of all.
What a sad thing you have to deal with.
Because whenever I am not at optimal health, like it could be my allergies acting up. It could be a headache.
You know what's the worst? Your nose being stuffed up and you can't breathe.
Yeah.
And you're like, I long for the days where I could breathe through my nose. You're like, I'll be so thankful when I can finally do that.
This isn't any flag. I just feel bad for you.
Yeah.
This isn't a beige flag. This is a health concern.
Yeah, I'd be like, go to your doctor and figure out what's going on. Do you have allergies?
What can you do to fix this?
Does our house need to be fumigated?
This isn't a quirk, is it? It's just a quirk is an active decision that someone's making.
And you're not deciding to do that. I feel for you though.
Having their Siri voice be in a foreign language. Now, why would someone do that?
Do they just mean like a different accent? Like a British accent or something?
Fine.
That's a beige flag, I suppose.
Sure. If it's a different language, I don't know.
Hopefully you can understand that language. Yeah. Someone said, my boyfriend never knows the details of anything. I'm like, what time is dinner with your family? I don't know. That's honestly not a beige flag to me. That's annoying.
It's weaponized incompetence.
Mostly just like if it's things especially related to like that person and I'm like asking something about you or related to you and you don't know, then I'm like, well, how am I supposed to know that?
And
if neither of us know,
we're gonna have to know. So who's gonna be the one to find out?
Not me.
Yeah. I saw someone else categorize that as a beige flag and I was just like, is it though? That's not like a quirk. It's not a quirk to just like be clueless about.
And like, I'm not saying you have to know everything, but like if it's stuff where you are the keeper of that information, like you are supposed to know that, then how am I supposed to know it? Mm-hmm. If I'm asking you, who else am I supposed to ask?
This one's a true beige flag, I would say. My boyfriend turns the volume to 0 rather than muting the TV. Even if I mute it, he puts it at 0.
That is so funny.
Like, it just must be his little comfort thing. He just wants it all the way down. So... And I don't have any comments because, okay.
This is a good question. Are you a pauser or a muter?
It depends. I feel like usually, okay, so if I'm watching something I've already seen a million times, I'll just mute it because I don't care if it keeps playing. But if I'm watching it to watch it, then I'll pause it.
Okay. That's what I think I do too. Because if you noticed, I'm thinking back to earlier, you were watching like the This Is It documentary. I don't know how much you were actually paying attention to it, but I was going to record something on our camera, so I paused it, and then we didn't even press play again, so our TV turned off.
I wouldn't have cared if you muted it.
But I feel like...
I wasn't watching really at all.
Subconsciously, like, Monk, mute. I'm not pausing it. I almost said lyrics. I know the words. I know the script. I can mute it and come back later. Okay. Someone said, I reflexively / spontaneously quote and reference SpongeBob. I can't help it. I think a lot of people do that.
That's a beige flag, I guess. As long as it's not too annoying,
right? Like if someone really hates SpongeBob, it's gonna be like a red flag for them. If someone loves SpongeBob, it's a green flag.
Someone said I always have do not disturb on.
That's annoying.
It is annoying.
As someone who, like, if you try to communicate with someone with do not disturb on,
you know, you can, like, override that.
I know.
But I don't want to have to be overriding that.
I've seen memes of people being like, the second it's, like, one of their friends or something has do not disturb on, they're like, override, send anyway.
Well, it's just like, why do you think I'm messaging you? I need a response.
Yeah. Like, some people have it on for, like, their entire workday. And I'm like, you don't communicate with anyone outside of work during your workday? Crazy to me. Like, I get having it on for, like, something, especially if you, like, have your screen or something on. You don't want anyone to, like, see messages pop up. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, like, use it sparingly. Not for more than an hour. Okay. Do you have any other ones?
I feel like it's time to jump into, like, red and green flags.
Okay. What do you want to start with?
Let's start with red flags. Did you break yours down into it or no?
For dating app and then real life?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
We decided to approach the red flags from, like, dating app red flags because, like, if you don't meet the person, like, what kinds of things are you seeing that you're like, no.
No.
And then we also have, like, real life red flags. So, let's start with dating app red flags.
Okay, I have 2.
I have, like, 4.
So the first one I have is, this is an example, but it can be further expanded upon. But any sort of prompt where the answer is like, oh, like, we'll get along if you can actually carry a conversation. Or things that just make it seem like they hate, like, every woman they've ever interacted with on that app.
So they want you to be the one that is, like, worth their time.
Yeah. And
it
just rubs me the wrong way. I get there are people on dating apps who, like, don't try, don't give you the time of day.
You can definitely you can have the mindset of, like, your dating app experience has been so hopeless and pointless that you're like, what's the point? and you're like wanting to find the one person to prove you wrong, but you can't let that fester and you can't let that show on your profile.
What else is annoying? That's semi-related, but I didn't write down. Is people who act like they're like, I hate this stupid app, and like they act like they're better than everyone else on the app
again,
as if you didn't download the same app that I did, make your own profile, fill in all these prompts, upload these pictures. Like, I get if you don't want to be on a dating app, but don't tell me that, because guess what? I'm gonna be like, well, I'm on a dating app too, so like I'm not here to make anyone feel bad about it.
So my first one was having overly generic responses to common prompts. The most prominent, like this has to be the most used answer on the dating app.
The best
I'm
way
overly competitive about everything.
Or the best way to ask me out is to ask me out.
So in my opinion, and here's the thing, if it's like, this is my opinion, and it could very well be the case for these people, which is why it would make perfect sense that this is what they're doing. I just don't think they care, honestly. I think they need little things to fill in the prompts. Maybe they're just using it as like a mindless, like they're just going, seeing who's on there, and they have no intention of like actually using the app. In which case, like, I don't care, because you're not matching with probably a whole lot of people, but that's probably not what you're intending to do anyways. But it just is like, it comes off so careless, and
like, give me something. In a dating app, I don't need much, but I need something.
On a dating app, when you have nothing but what's on the screen in front of you, and you have to kind of like make assumptions about just about everything, I start to think you're careless as a person. You don't care about anything. It just is like, it festers over into every single thing that I would think about you. Because if you can't like take the time to curate, like, here's the thing, you're curating your profile. You are making it exactly what I'm supposed to like want to like interact with, engage with.
The best version of you, and it's not giving me the best version of you. So like, why am I to care?
Listen, if this is you at your best, I don't want to see you at your worst.
Okay. Next one that I have, this is not really a red flag, but I just wanted to spread my hatred of the 2 truths and 1 lie prompt.
I hate that one too, because it's totally people just like bragging and about such niche specific things that like it has to be, these are the 2 truths.
And like, I just know that like the one that's a lie will be like, oh, like the lie is like, oh, I won like $100 off the lotto ticket. Actually, the lie, I won $1,000 off the lotto ticket. Like, I just know that's what their lie is, like something that's not as crazy as the actual truth, is my opinion of what is going on.
I just am like, I read that stuff
and I'm
like, you want to tell this story so bad, don't you? Like that's what I think. Like you're begging for a response to this prompt because you've got 3 stories and you're ready to tell them. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to ask about them.
So it's not a red flag. Like, I wouldn't, X someone just because they had a 2 truths and 1 lie. But you can guarantee I'm not responding to that prompt.
My next one is using prompts to only promote like how successful or rich they want to be, or like, I don't even remember like what specific prompt I feel like gets used the most with that. But to me, it's just like, I'm on a dating app to like try and develop and cultivate like a relationship with someone. If the only thing that you're pointing out to me is like the biggest
your grind
motivating factor in your life is like wealth, success, whatever, then all I can think about is how that would be probably negatively possibly impacting relationships, family, like way down the line, obviously. But it's just like, that could totally be like something that's important to you. I just don't know if being like that specific on a dating app is like the way to go.
Mm-hmm. You have more red flags. That's all I had specifically for the dating app.
Another one was a very generic like gym bro thing. Mm-hmm. And then drinking/drug use. That's more like deal breaker than a red flag, but I wrote it down anyways. More drinking, I guess, like, it's more so the drug use. You're like,
it's fine if you drink. Like, that's acceptable. The drug use is where I draw the line.
Yeah. Okay. Let's jump to real life.
Real life red flags. Okay. So one that really, it's honestly like it's a red flag, it's an ick, it's everything in one for me, is poor spelling grammar. And I'm not someone who, you know, is a grammar Nazi in any capacity. Also, I can't even, like, emojis. Every second, every hour of every day. I am not a hater of emojis. I use emojis. But I like a tasteful emoji. And
usually, like,
you guys know the people that I'm talking about when, like, every sentence ends with an emoji and you're like, oh my God, be for real. Like, be a human for a second. I can't do it. But that was a side tangent. It's mostly just if someone regularly uses, you ever see, like, those Facebook group messages?
Yes,
where,
I was just thinking,
just like
the same
you're not a real
thing.
person. Like, people who post, guys, you have to join these Facebook groups that we're in. People post screenshots of their text messages
and
with their significant
other. It doesn't have anything to do with like the emoji use. It's just like, do you guys, like, what do you guys think about this conversation? And like,
and it's just the worst spelling, grammar. Like, it makes no sense. Talking. And I'm like, there's no way you guys are both over the age of 20. I don't believe it. And so, not that I've ever, like, I don't think I've ever personally.
People, like, it makes me laugh when you, like, see people commenting that will say, like, are you being serious in this text message right now? Is he being serious?
Like, I luckily don't think I've personally had to deal with someone that I've talked to, like, to that extent of, like, oh my God. Like, I can't. It wouldn't even. The emoji person, I have crossed paths with them. And I was like, oh my God.
Instant
run.
Ick. And this was someone that Ciera was, like, in high school. She was like if someone was.
I weirdly manifested this person to take me to homecoming. Like, I don't know how that even happened. But, like, then we started communicating over text. And I was like, oh no. Oh no.
Was over him before homecoming even happened.
Yeah.
Okay. My first real one is someone that's, like, too loud and obnoxious. Like, I am all for an extrovert who's, like, more extroverted than I am, which doesn't take much. But I quickly will cross a line where it's like, it's too much. This came to mind when we were at trivia last week. Did you know I was going there?
Yeah, I figured.
We're at, like, it's kind of a bar, I guess, but
it's more of a brewery.
Yeah. And we're at trivia, so, like, it's plenty loud in there, trust me. Like, I am not expecting people to be quiet here. But this place specifically had Hammerschlagen, which I've never partaken in. Maybe it's a loud game. I don't know. And I think there was some sort of, like, birthday party or, like, bachelorette party going on. Probably birthday party, I would think, on a Thursday night. And I just was like, my goodness, could these girls be any louder right now? Because they're, like, screaming.
And, like, I hate to hate on the girlies.
It's the screaming that gets obnoxious to me. Because that's what they were doing. They were screaming, and it's plenty loud in there. I shouldn't have to, like, hear a distinct group of people being, like, way more obnoxious.
It's like normal. When you give, like, the side eye, you're like, what's going on over there?
So I just didn't, like, it reiterated to me, like, wow, I cannot do, like, someone who's too much, in my opinion. For someone else, maybe they like someone who's too much.
Okay. Someone or something else that I had was just, like, a dirty living space. We have reached the age where anyone that I'm dating, I expect to be working a full-time job, living, you know, doing their laundry, cooking, cleaning, whatever.
Like, no
like
excuses.
They are doing it. And I'm not expecting impeccable, flawless, clean space all the time. But, like, when I enter your room, it should be picked up enough. Like, doesn't smell weird. Like, I think of my room, I do a fantastic job keeping my room, like, generally very clean. My bed is made. Dad, if you're listening, I don't know if you listen to the podcast, I've been making my bed every morning. I make sure that my floor is clean. I put my laundry away right away. Like, it's generally very clean. And I know, like, in college, it's a thing where, like, you know, guys' rooms, girls' rooms, it's a mess. We're past that age. I won't accept it anymore.
Other red flags.
Especially, like, just guy odor. When it's there, and it's just not pleasant. Like, I don't want your room to smell like you.
Love bombing is a huge, like, if there's one thing, like, I think it's just partly because, like, I'm so the opposite. like, the only way I'm falling for someone is, like, the more I get to know them and the more, like, things start to really, like, piece together and, like, fit in place. If we just met, like, I am not falling for you. You shouldn't be falling for me because you don't know me either. Like, I just don't operate in that same headspace. And so I'm very hesitant when people, like, maybe I just haven't experienced it with the right person, but, like, when people, like, fall hard and fall fast, I'm just like, that makes me nervous.
You don't know each other. And maybe it does have to do with, like, this certain level of how soon you open up to someone. Because I think you and I would both be of the mindset, like, we're not going to open up the floodgates on date number 1. I'm like, we don't know each other.
We got to work
You aren't privy to that information. Got to take our time. And so I think, to a certain extent, if people, like, open up about their life and stuff sooner, then you can kind of understand where that would be coming from. But you and I personally do not follow that.
Yeah.
Okay. Next red flag that I had was related to, I don't think I've had to deal with this personally, but I see girls on TikTok where it's like, they are like, I have a date tonight, I think. I'm getting ready. The guy has not texted me or communicated with me today. And they'll do like a TikTok of like, 7 o'clock, I just finished my makeup. No text. 8 o'clock, I'm getting dressed. I'm like, I'm not getting ready until the date's confirmed. Granted, I don't take that long to get ready.
You're doing it for TikTok content.
That's also probably true. But, like, if he has not said anything, I'm assuming the date's not happening.
Okay, this was interesting because, like, I put it in a red flag thing, but I could totally see someone the opposite, in which, like, me asking for this would be a red flag. But I think it's a red flag if you're in a relationship with someone and they don't give you their phone passcode, or they wouldn't let you, like, peruse their phone, or if they, like, wouldn't share their location with you. The reason I say all of that is because, and I'm not a snoopy person. I think it's like the act of saying you would do it, or here it is. I really, really do not think I would, like, snoop through someone's phone, because I think that I would trust the person I was with enough. But it's for, like, the simple everyday conveniences of, like, if I wanted to, like, get into his phone for something, like, it comes up in a relationship where, like,
it's like the example that I always think of with this, and I always think of this example, is that, like, if you're in the car with someone and, like, they're driving, someone texts them and they're like, hey, can you, like, open my phone, respond this, like, here's my passcode, and they give it to you willingly, unprompted, and, like, they're not worried that you're going to snoop, and they're, like, clearly don't have anything to hide because they're willingly providing that information.
And then for, like, the location, here's the thing. If we were in a relationship and I were to, like, let's say you didn't want to share your location, in theory, anytime I were to, like, ask where you were at, just out of curiosity or trying to coordinate things or figure out X, Y, Z, if you were being truthful, you would just, like, say where you were at and tell me where your location was. So why not make it easier? I made Ciera just start sharing her location with me so I don't have to be annoying and asking, like, where you are you still at work, or, like, it just kind of helps me gauge, like, timing of things and all of that without having to, like, be annoying and texting and waiting for a response. I just think it makes things run smoother. And, I understand there might be, like, small things, like maybe you're a really good significant other and you might be even surprising them or something, or maybe, like, the location has to be off or something, but I just feel like that is, like, far and few between for, like, the everyday necessity of just keeping your location on. So that's my personal opinion, but I also recognize that others are very, private and personal, and they think that that's crossing a line, and it's, like, not a signal of trust. But I kind of think the opposite, in which it does show trust.
Okay, that's all I had for my red flags. So if you have any other ones, shout them out. Otherwise, we can get into the few little green flags that we have. Green flag number 1 that I have is when guys read, but they particularly read fiction.
That was the first one I put too. I said read for entertainment.
I am getting to the point. I have on my dating profile, like, I'll brag about you to my friends if you read, blah, blah, blah. Because I just am really attracted to the idea of a guy reading. But what I realize is that I am attracted to the idea of a guy reading for entertainment purposes and, like, reading fiction.
Like, for, like, escapism.
Because I will get a lot of responses to the prompt because I ask, like, what's the most recent book you read or something. And guys will say like 1,000,001 different like self-help books, finance books, entrepreneurship,
and I'm
like,
there's nothing wrong with
boring.
That, but it's just like, I feel like unfortunately a lot of guys have this idea of like reading for entertainment is like a waste of time, or like you're not bettering yourself. And I'm just like, guys, just, it's a hobby. Like, get a hobby, find something fun to do. And maybe people really genuinely do enjoy self-help books. I feel like when I at first was getting in the mindset, like this was years ago before I actually started reading again, but when the idea of reading came to mind, I also kind of thought like I need to be like reading self-help books because that's like what everyone was doing and promoting, and if I want to like have a good use of my time. But I tried like a couple audiobooks or self-help books, and it's like they just don't speak to me, and I don't really care. And I feel like a lot of times they're saying the same thing over and over, and they're making a bunch of money for doing that, and I'm like learning nothing.
Like, we just want to have fun. And I also, just further down the line, the idea of going to like a bookstore or something with your person that you're dating or your boyfriend, that sounds incredible. Like doing a little bookstore date.
Mm-hmm.
So,
or thinking like, oh, like they would love to read this.
Yeah, or like you pick out like a book for them that you think they'd like. That'd be so cute. Or like they do the same for you. So sweet.
Okay, this was, so one of my green flags, since we kind of shared that one. Someone that shares similar niche interests. One that like comes up a few times on, because I used to have like a monk type of prompt on my dating profile, and even if I wouldn't like necessarily swipe right on the guy or respond back to match, I'd be like so close because I was just like, this is almost enough, like this alone. Or like National Treasure was one I wrote down because I feel like it's like common enough where people like will reference it or whatever, but it's like not overly mainstream. But like I feel like I really love National Treasure and connect to it, and so when people like mention something like that, I'm just like, oh, I'm like holding on to that for dear life.
But together we could steal the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, like or like escape rooms. So it's just like anytime a more niche interest is shared, I'm just like, I need to find a way to like make this the other reason I need to swipe right on you or match with you, but it never really is. So
okay, the next one I have is Instagram boyfriends / hype men. Specifically, not just like the guy who will like take your pictures, but I showed Megan this TikTok forever ago of this guy being like, he was like giving her like, oh, don't do that, like that looks weird. He's like changing the angle, and he's like, oh, do that again, that looked great. Like being truly constructive in his photo taking. And it also just reminded me like beyond just the Instagram hype man genre of boyfriend, but like the look at the birds with me boyfriend. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there was a study done forever ago. I never even read the study, but like I reference this with Megan sometimes.
This is a study? I thought it was just like an anecdote.
I don't know.
I could be wrong.
But like essentially it was a study that found that the more couples engage in like what the other person wants them to pay attention to, then like the longer those couples stay together, the happier they are. And so the idea is like if someone's like, oh, like look outside and look at the birds, and if the person actually looks up and looks outside, even though they could have just been like, whatever, it's just birds, like I don't need to look outside, then the idea is that the more you interact with your partner like that, the happier you are. And so just for the Instagram example, like feeding into your partner's indulgence and like giving them your time and attention to do that. And then again, if your boyfriend has something that he like wants you to like fully engage and participate in without like rolling your eyes or like making fun of it, just fully engage and look at the birds with your partner. I remember there was one time you were like doing something and I was like, Megan, look at the birds with me, because you were like being annoyed for what I was asking you to do.
Okay, this is my last one. You had mentioned this happened to you, and then like I don't think I necessarily said the same thing happened to me, but it did. But like purposeful and intentional date planning. And so both of our most recent Hinge dates that we went on, you mentioned that a coffee date was kind of like brought up, and then you had mentioned like, I don't like coffee, but whatever, we can still, I'm sure, do that. And then I don't know what his wording was.
No, he was like, did I say coffee? I meant smoothies.
Yeah.
So that was like a fun way that he like changed the date.
A similar thing happened to me when the guy that I went on a Hinge date with, we were trying to figure out what to do, and he suggested a coffee date, and I was kind of like, I don't drink coffee, but like I could do a hot chocolate, I'm sure that'd be fine. And then he just kind of like worded us like, oh, like no, like we could I'll come up with something else and that like we could do instead. And so I just feel like that's always a good, easy sign, and intention is everything. So yeah.
I mean, I would say like even like the first dates that we went on, they didn't like lead to future dates, but like they're both fine,
right,
good, decent guys. Like I didn't see any red flags with them. I just didn't like feel that spark.
The vibe
for a
that
romantic
we're being
relationship
into without all these romance books talk about that we're maybe putting too much weight in.
Okay, next one that I have is when he holds the door open, not just for me, but like for other people too. Like how, like if a random person opens the door for you and like holds it open, are you just like, you're a good person? And sometimes
That's all it takes.
People don't hold the door open and you're like, oh, slams in my face. Couldn't have held it open for 2 more seconds. There's a fine line when it comes to opening the door though, because if it's too long, then I'm like, oh, hold on, I gotta jog. So tasteful door opening.
I'd agree. And I think that's all we have.
I have more.
Oh, okay. I was like, well, did I say I don't have any more? I don't have any more.
Okay. I only have a couple more. This is like, they're kind of related. So one is that you like his friends, because guys are, for better or for worse, basically the same with their friends. And so if you don't like a lot of his friends, but you're like, oh, but I like him, like when he's around me, how is he around his friends though? And in turn, that's like how he is in general.
It's always best when you like get along with as many people as possible that are important in your partner's life. Makes things easier.
So that was one. And then this other one's kind of like a two-parter. One is that he talks kindly or like hypes people up that aren't around, because I feel like that says a lot about someone's character when they are willing to
vouch for
just
someone,
hype someone up for no reason. Like there's no gain to be made if like this person doesn't know they're talking about them in a positive way. On the flip side, if your partner's not around, but you're with a bunch of people who know your partner and they're like hyping your partner up for no reason, they're like, so-and-so's a great guy. Like, you're so lucky to be with him. He's lucky to be with you. Like, you guys are great together.
Yeah.
That'd be just like,
I feel a lot of people are like collectively judging him and or you guys as a relationship.
Like rooting for you guys.
And they're all positive. Then, you know, obviously they're outsiders looking in, but it's probably generally a positive thing. That would make me feel good about my relationship.
Yeah. That's my goal, is to one day be in a relationship where people are like, Ciera and so-and-so, like, they're solid.
I'm rooting for them.
I'm rooting for them. Mom and dad. People probably, like, take that with pride if, like, they're, like, the mom and dad couple. Do you think so?
Maybe.
Okay. That is all of my green flags. And that's the conclusion of this episode.
We hope you enjoyed. If remember, we're leaving an Instagram post, and you guys need to comment your beige flags. That's what we decided, right?
I don't know.
That's what we're doing. So go comment on the episode post.
And thank you guys for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment or something. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever, subscribe there as well. And maybe you can rate us on Apple Podcasts.
Otherwise, we will talk to you guys next Thursday.
Bye.